Black to gold. Pain to power. Now, much like the Harry Potter sequence where the people are facing their fear in the closet and then making it funny, ha ha ha, so that it's easier to face, I do the same thing with people's pain. And instead, because like everyone has a pain, everyone has like that unscratchable itch. I help people scratch that itch by facing the mirror, facing the pain, facing the fear. Because you can try and get rid of it. You can try and grab it, throw it away. You can suppress it. You can ignore it. You can deny it. But for everyone, it's always there. Everyone's experienced something. A trauma, emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever it is, they've had something, right? Physical injury, emotional injury, whatever. Adversity, it's all happened. That part cannot be changed. But what can be changed is what you do with it. And I gotta go get the door. So, looking at alchemy. Alchemy in motion. I'm filming a video, I'll talk to you later. Child just did an errand run to the store. And now I can hear her music while I'm filming. If you turn that down, please. Thank you very much. Love you. Appreciate it.
Sorry.
So, black to gold. Looking at alchemy. The idea of this magical stone, right? The philosopher's stone is turning lead or mercury, base metals, into gold. If you view whatever it is, that pain, that thing, that something, as black, it's a lot of the stuff that's in alchemy and like all this stuff that people are getting into now, it's not a lot of times meant to be taken literal. To where there are literal applications that come down the road, but a lot of it has to do with alchemy of the self. So that their idea of this pain, this thing, was the black liquid or the lead, the black brick, the black stone. And then by working on that pain, on that thing that happens to everyone, you can transmute it into gold. You transmute it into value, into power. Kind of like the Japanese. Ancestrally, when something broke, some pottery, in some cases, they would fill it with gold so that it wasn't viewed as broken, but the thing that broke it gave it character, gave it personality, gave it even more value than it had in the first place. That's the same foundational tenet of alchemy, and the same thing happens with motion. Turning that black, that pain, into gold. And that is what I help people do. I actually had a session today with a friend of mine, Marcin. Forgive me for the pronunciation. Hails from Poland. And I use this concept myself, and I've shared with a few others. But today, we really dove into the concept of what was once your pain eventually becomes your power. It becomes the unique bit of your story. It becomes your map, the lay of your land that helps you rise into power. And you can't get there. There's not so many things in life that are like, it has to be this way or it has to be that way. But when it comes to this, it must be faced in order to achieve your full potential. Now, how that looks for everyone is unique, but it's like everyone has to paint the picture. Everyone's painting will end up with their own unique flair and unique style, but it has to be painted. It can't be avoided. It is the mirror. Taking that pain, right, that black, that lead, transmuting it into gold through facing it safely. And when he and I were talking, I came up with this analogy, and I feel like it's good. It'll be a nice way to bridge the gap of communication that there is on a lot of this stuff, because a lot of people are trying to do a lot of the things that you see me doing, and they all have their own unique flair to it, but a lot of folks are kind of reaching around in the dark. To where with what I'm doing with my friends, my peeps, right, the ones that I'm teaching and helping guide, there's a degree of responsibility. For the teacher, it makes sense to you do the reaching around in the dark in your own time, and then you come up with the safe model for the public. But to use the public as a guinea pig, it's not a good thing. It's not responsible. You don't care about those people. You care more about your method than you do the people. I don't do that. So I used the example today, talking with my friend, like climbing a mountain. No matter what, when you climb the mountain, there are dangers involved, right? You can chart a course, you can do all the things which we do preemptively, right? You chart a course, but you also have the availability and awareness to alter it as you go to do the right thing. As well as what? No matter what, there's danger involved with scaling the mountain, but we have a tether. We have a safety cord. We have a support system that helps us navigate the inevitable dangers of facing the pain. And as a result of facing the pain, you gradually become stronger and it becomes your power. Because you're what? You're not climbing without a tether where one slip and you fall. And then that's all they heard from you as your story. That is the main reason why a lot of the systems try to avoid it, because they don't know how to navigate it safely. There's no tether. So then they know that if they actually face it without the experience, right? Without the support system, without the tether, without the root, then if they fall once, they're done. And then that's how they chart their course, is everything is to avoid that pain that inevitably comes up from it. And the thing about injuries is that even if the immediate pain signal goes away, it's mainly because the body and the mind's priority is survival. It's getting the thing done, it's doing the thing. So that the body will prioritize the stimulus on getting the job done, on surviving, on whatever it is, and no longer sends pain signals to the area unless it's brought up, unless you're brought into a movement that you're forced to face it, unless an activity happens and you got to do something that's outside your regular range of moving, so then you got to respond and react, and then you're like, oh, that didn't feel so good. People aren't actually entirely healing, and that's just the truth of it. They're not, because the pain isn't being faced all the way. The signals fade, they feel like they're better, they get going, and then something else happens. Why? Because the body will allocate and send the signal somewhere else to deal with it so that it doesn't have to. A literal representation of pushing the dust under the rug. And then it accumulates there, so then you move it from under that rug to somewhere else. And you just keep shifting it around the room, but you don't ever actually sweep it up and put it in the garbage. That's what happens. That's, again, that lead brick, that black liquid. And again, most routes are charted in avoiding it. And it makes perfect sense, right? From a base route, that makes sense. If there's crocodiles in that water, we just go around it. A lot of times that does make sense. However, if there's like a treasure on the other side of that pond, and you have no choice but to go through that pond to get that magical treasure, a lot of times it's how life works. It's like the thing that we're most afraid of ends up holding that jewel that brings us to the next level. And we do as much as we can here, and here. And then we realize, you know what? There's nothing getting around it. Like a spider web, like our fascia, in layers and layers and layers all over our body, you pull one thread of the spider web, that is our fascia, the whole web is affected, right? It gets pulled, the spider is on there, it feels, hey, the fly is doing it, and then it moves over there. Our body is very complex. And like a lot of people that are in denial of things that happen to them, they hide things around. They deny, they ignore, they suppress, right? They try to get rid of it, try to cut it off and throw it away. But it never works. You have to face it eventually to actually get where you want to go. And it eventually becomes your power, your unique story, right? A lot of people, they try to say, it's a practice of, no, I'm good, I'm pain-free, I'm all good, blah, blah, blah. But it's still there. It's like groups of people saying, all right, well, you know what? The sun is green, so we're just going to live like the sun is green. The sun is orange. The pain is still there. People feel it. That's why so many do work and so much work. And then what's happening is, besides maybe adding a couple filters to their content, besides more people patting them on the back, there's not a lot of actual stuff that's getting better. It's people getting more clever in ignoring the pain signals or hiding them or suppressing things, or getting more clever in doing so much stuff that gives you so much stimulus that you can ignore that you're just moving the mess to somewhere else. That's why someone, oh man, I feel better here. All right, yeah. And then they're like, oh wait, but what? This? Ah, shit. The whole fascial line is connected. If you hurt your thumb, you're gonna feel it all the way down the chain. And the body remembers, and that's how it uses the fascial line to spread whatever pain you can't face in the target area and spread it across, right? That's what people do to make jobs easier, is you share the load elsewhere so that you can bear it easier. But that same positive dynamic is also a negative dynamic when it comes to things that are too hard for people to face. So then you take the pain and you pass it out, and then eventually it's everywhere. Shit. But that same thing, just like the Japanese cup that was smashed, and the crack that started with a pressure point at the top or at the side, whatever caused the break, and transferred all the way down the line to where the energy had to release, something had to give to put that pressure somewhere, because energy always has to go somewhere. That's not a matter of belief. That is scientific, real fact, as real as you and me, as real as this touch that I'm feeling, right? As real as this oxygen that's in this room. That part is unavoidable. It's not about belief. Energy has to go somewhere. So when the pain happens, and if it can't be faced or expressed directly in the moment, which most people don't do because they don't know how to do it, and they also don't know the cleanup process after the damage is done, then it gets allocated and sent around. And then it can hide and move because they're holding patterns. They don't want to be discovered. They want to try as much as they possibly can to avoid that same thing that happened, that in the time you weren't prepared to deal with. So then they want to try and what? Keep you safe. I'll give you a good example. Say you got a castle, you or your castle. Say something happens in a battle or whatever, one of your walls gets blown up. Now, the traumatic event of the wall being blown up is over, right? You're not in that high stress, high stimulus moment. But what happens afterwards? Realistically, you got to clean up the damage. So there's repairs that go on, there's cleaning up, there's moving the bricks, there's seeing what's going on, who was affected by the blast, what was affected, how much damage is there. All that stuff happens with an injury. And then it takes a long time to clean up, clear the area, and repair and rebuild, then stress test it, like what happened when you were a kid, through play, to make sure that the wall is intact and strong again. That is a very long, complex, and difficult, but also beautiful process. But most people aren't aware of that's how deep it goes, because it affects the physical level, the mental level, the spiritual level, the emotional level. Everything is touched when a physical damage happens. So then it's going and taking that, and instead of being afraid and being like, oh, that's so much work and I don't even know where to begin, I'm just going to leave the wall and put up a cardboard cutout and act like it's all good. Or I'm just going to build upon the ashes of it without cleaning it out, and I just need to get something up quick and I just got to do it now, and it'll be a patchwork and all the bits will keep falling out, but I'll just keep on putting them up and putting them up. And then it ends up being a really long, drawn out process to where if it's done right, then you don't have to do that. So, the primary foundational tenet of equilibrium in this video, in this instance that we're talking about it, because whatever you're focusing on in that moment is the most important thing. There's many important things, but right now, in this moment, you and I, this is the most important thing. This is the main objective, is taking that black stone, that lead, and transmuting your pain into gold through facing it safely with a harness, right? Securely, facing the danger of scaling the mountain with safety and security and stability, so that you're not just reaching around and grabbing around in the dark, and you're actually accomplishing it. Then holistically, by turning that pain into power and facing it and using it, you realize that you have a huge store and crop of pent-up energy that you can use to integrate into your being, right, into your fuel, that can help move you forwards and get you better everywhere residually as a byproduct, without having to face it through isolation. Because again, the pain usually happens in confinement. So then if you're gonna try and open things up, you have to explore and open up so you can give yourself space and give your fascia the ability to breathe and gather oxygen. Equilibrium.